Hi beautiful people, it's me Gruey, and in this video I'm going to go over the final portion of your classwork for April the 15th or 415. So, in this portion of the classwork today we are going over the appeals to pathos or emotion. So, we're looking again at Coates' argument in pages 3 through 13 of Between the World and Me, and we're looking at how he strengthens his argument by using these different appeals. So on page 7, right, in paragraph 4, page 7, regardless of which way you're doing this, Google Doc or PDF, you know where we are. The evidence is already provided for you, as is the explanation, but just because it's already done doesn't mean you shouldn't look at it. So we're still going to take a look at it right now. So the first piece of evidence that you're going to look at for pathos or emotion says the need to ascribe bone deep features to people and then humiliate, reduce, and destroy them. Right? That's our first piece of evidence. So what stands out to me emotionally are the words humiliate, reduce, and destroy. Right? So when I look over at that explanation, that's exactly how this starts. So the explanation says, by using words like humiliate, reduce, and destroy, he is attempting to evoke this emotional response in readers. Now, most of us have experienced at least some of these emotions, right? Or some of these experiences or feelings. Most of us have understood what it feels like to be humiliated or to be made to feel lesser than you actually are. So, in bringing up these words or in using these words, Coates is trying to get us as the audience to get this emotional response. And if we're able to relate to what he's describing right now, we should, with that emotional connection, be inspired to try to want to make something change or make a change happen in some way, shape, or form. So a lot of times the emotional appeal is going to be one of the stronger ones because this appeal is really going to try to make the reader invested in the argument. So that being said, I'm going to move on to your second example, which comes from page 8 or paragraph 6. This is just a fragment of one of the sentences. And so the evidence that we have says, pillaging of life, liberty, labor, and land, through the flaying of backs, the chaining of limbs, the strangling of dissidents, the destruction of families, the rape of mothers, the sale of children, and various other acts meant first and foremost to deny you and me the right to secure and govern our own bodies. To me, there are quite a few words here that pack an emotional punch. First of all, the word pillaging. Oftentimes you hear that word paired with something else, and it's oftentimes raping and pillaging. You hear that about Vikings, you hear that about pirates, and so pillaging is a bit of an emotion-packed word just because it tends to instill a bit of fear in whoever is being pillaged. But they're pillaging life, they're pillaging liberty, which is freedom, they're pillaging labor, which is work, and they're pillaging land. So they are taking all of these things. Then it gets to the flaying of backs, the chaining of limbs, right? Both of those there are, I would say, direct references to slavery and the institution of slavery. Quite oftentimes during the time of slavery, whips and other forms of corporal punishment were used to try to handle what were considered unruly or uncooperative slaves. And same with the chaining of limbs. In that middle passage that he talks about, the middle passage between Africa and the Americas, where they were bringing slaves over for the triangle trade slave, slaves were chained where they were in the boats and the ships, so that way they wouldn't try to throw themselves overboard. So these words are quite emotional, and they bring back these historical things that people also tend to feel quite strongly about. And so if you're able to talk about things that your audience feels strongly about, it's something that's going to help you as the author get them swayed to your side by reminding them, oh, you don't like these things, right? These things are bad. And so we're trying to say those things are bad. You're on our side. It helps sway the audience. To continue with the same quote from page 8, the rape of mothers is something that is, generally speaking, going to make people quite angry, and the sale of children, again, going to make people quite angry. And these both, again, are references to the slave trade and to slavery here in America. So when you look at those things, you get these emotion punched words, but you could also focus on that last portion of this sentence. He says that these are acts that are done to deny you and me the right to secure and govern our own bodies. He is a father talking to his son, and he's explaining to his son that these are all things that have been done to prevent himself and his son from having rights. And that right, namely, is the right to the pursuit of life, getting to continue to live and feel safe in living and feel protected in living. And so if you are reading this and you are a parent yourself, that's going to tug at your heartstrings, because you would not want to have that conversation with your child. If you are a child of someone yourself, that might tug on your heartstrings, because you might have experienced that conversation with your parent. This is something that is trying to make the reader, again, make that emotional connection with this piece. And the emotional connection here could also help strengthen the trust between the reader and the author. For page 9 and page 11, or paragraph 8 and paragraphs 10 and 11, I want you guys to try those on your own. I have faith in you guys that you can find, either like my two examples here, words that pack quite a hefty punch, or maybe other instances where he's directly appealing to the reader's sense of emotion, or tugs at their heartstrings, right? Like when he talks about seeing his son run away crying, that's something that might make a lot of parents feel an emotional sort of connection, or sway the parents to this side. The final evidence from our book right now is a picture, and the picture comes from page 13. I've put this here for an emotional appeal because it, in my opinion, is definitely an emotional appeal. I want you guys with this one to try and explain how maybe including this picture of father and son might help make that connection a little bit stronger, or make that appeal a little bit stronger here. Finally, you guys have 3 questions to end off with. These are just your opinion questions. I'm not saying there are any right or wrong answers, but I just want to know your thinking and your thoughts. So go ahead and tune in to tomorrow's video for tomorrow's classwork. If you guys have questions, please feel free to reach out. All right, until next time, toodaloo.